Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I've got some very exciting news to share with you guys in that Wild Force and Cyber Judge were officially revealed, along with basically we knew that A-Specs were coming back, but this is basically just confirming that they were indeed going to be in the first set of the year, which is great. So basically, if you don't know, these two sets will combine to make our next big Scarlet and Violet set, which is going to be called Temporal Forces, releasing in March. So unfortunately, it is a bit of a wait. I know we're in December now, but it is a bit of a long wait before we see these cards in English over in the West. But it is good to still look at them and see really what we are going to be getting in the future, really. And that's good for testing. It's also good to see how Japan deals with them and what they're going to be doing with them and like what the format is going to be like. I know I'm making a mess of this intro already, but just seeing what's going to happen basically. So each set will feature 71 cards before Secret Rares, as predicted by PokeBeach. They'll be headlined by Walking Wake EX and Iron Leaves, which are the Paradox variants of Suicune and Virizion. So the fact that they're leading the sets would suggest that we are getting additional ancient Pokemon and future Pokemon support, which should be good. We're also getting the other trio members as Pokemon EX, so these four guys. They just debuted in the Indigo Risk on December 14th, so this is actually a relatively fast turnaround to see new Pokemon turn into cards, this quickly. Usually it's quite a while before we see new Pokemon as cards, really, so it's nice to see this. But yeah, Gouging Fire, I think, is the one that resembles the original Pokemon the most, to be honest. Like, it does look a lot like Entei, in my opinion, but yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of Raging Bolt. I think that's a bit weird. Iron Crown and Iron Boulder are kind of like whatever. I think the future Pokemon, some of them are just a wee bit uninspired, but that's just my personal opinion. It's always like the ancient Pokemon that seem to have changed the most, but I guess that kind of aligns because the future Pokemon are just like perfected versions of what they are essentially. But we'll see. I guess we'll see. But yeah, the fact that all of these are going to be EX cards as well. So we're getting two new future EX Pokemon and two new ancient Pokemon EX. I'm assuming we'll get, of course, like multiple other EX Pokemon in the sets, probably some Terra Pokemon as well, so should be good. However, the big news to talk about, and you'll see these very pink cards here, these sets will reintroduce the A-Spec mechanic to the Pokemon TCG. A-Spec cards were powerful item cards, so you couldn't have more than one in the deck back in the Black and White era. And this announcement was, of course, made at Worlds in August. However, this time A-Specs cards can also be special energy, just like Prisms were, basically. Otherwise, they work as the same way as before. And it is worth noting that, as far as I can tell, they are worded the exact same A-Spec in the title, so you won't be able to play one of these A-Specs plus one of these A-Specs in Expanded. It'll literally just be one or the other, if that makes sense. I know it's like a fairly obvious thing, but just because they're different card artworks, I thought there would, that'd be a point worth mentioning, but, still. And of course, these new expect cards will feature a new style of hollow foil and pink backgrounds, which I know some people probably aren't going to like, but I think they look pretty cool. They definitely stand out quite a lot, and they should look pretty good in real life as well, hopefully. So yeah, so it looks pretty good. Also got some other key points just about previous A-Specs that were introduced in 2012's Black and White's Boundary Crossed. They ran for just four sets, until 2013's Plasma Blast, and only 13 of them were released in total. So not many, to be honest. It's definitely not as many as you would think. So I don't know if we're getting more than 13 this time round. I would be surprised if we did get more than that. I mean, we didn't get that many Radiants looking back. We didn't even get one for every type, I don't think. So yeah, 13, I think that's about right. They probably want to do another mechanic as well after this. I mean, this is very much like the secondary mechanic to Terastal and EX Pokemon, like the next big mechanic. So it'll be a little while, I guess, before we see any new mechanics post this one. But this obviously isn't going to be as big as, V-Stars were, for example. But still, a pretty cool mechanic, even if we don't get too many. But yeah, just some examples of previous A-Specs. Did go over these in a previous video if you want to check that out. But Computer Search was definitely the most broken, it seems. I don't know if that's coming back. Some people seem to think no because it's just too broken, but we'll see. Master Ball, I think, is a prime candidate for being reprinted. I think out of all the A-Specs, to be honest, that should come back, I think Master Ball deserves it the most, just because it's iconic, but yeah, that's just my opinion. Also, we got some news about regulation marks and Japan's rotation. So this set will be the first to feature the H regulation mark. Japan's next rotation will go into effect the day these sets release, which is important to bear in mind. So their format is going to be slightly different to ours, as far as I'm aware. All E cards will rotate out, and only F, G, and H cards will remain. And then our rotation will be like March, April time ish, I'd imagine. Yeah, I think so. Wait, I don't know. My mind just drawn blank there because I was trying to think when last rotation was, but I think it was, yeah, it was like around March time. Someone can probably verify that in the comments, but yeah, it was around like March, April time we got our last rotation, so should be around there. As opposed to before, however, there's also some other news regarding starter deck and battle sets, if you're interested in that sort of thing, including a new Koraidon EX, which is going to be with the Ancient label, and Miraidon EX, which will have the Future label. However, there's not been any official announcement being made about them yet. I'm just going to take a wild guess and assume these cards are going to be terrible, but, you know, they might be good starter decks. You never know. They could be cool, but unfortunately, I don't think starter decks have a particularly great track record. So unless they're one of the high-powered ones, then I don't think they're going to be very good. Then we can move on to some of the more interesting news in that there's going to be some more cards revealed tomorrow. So hopefully it's enough to make a video about, and, you know, it doesn't feel like I'm just milking this content out because I don't have any other video ideas. But yeah, still, more cards for these sets will be revealed tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that. But now for the main part of the video that I'm sure you probably clicked on the video for. We have New Upper Energy and Prime Catcher. I'm going to start with New Upper Energy because it's the one that's probably going to be overlooked a little bit. It basically just says for, a double energy, so that's good, but it only works on a stage 2 Pokemon. So it provides colorless energy, but on a stage 2, it's going to provide 2 of any energy at a time, which is fantastic. You know, it's obviously a great buff to stuff like Charizard if you can find it, or, you know, God of War EX springs to mind. But there is some other EX Pokemon that you could pair this up with, like Megenzone EX. There's like Aegislash EX, who, funnily enough, both have like the same secondary attack or something weird. There's like a couple of other ones, like Tyranitar EX has a weird attack cost. Even the single prize Tyranitar does as well. So I do think there's like some interesting applications. You know, like one of them I thought of was like Quaxalava EX or something weird. So yeah, there is some weird choices that you could do. New Upper Energy, I think competitive wise, this is like a 3 out of 5, just because if you're relying on an energy card, you want to be playing more than one of them in your deck, and you can only play one copy of this. But at the same time, I still think this is really cool. It's going to be very creative. It's going to help out a lot of rogue decks. So yeah, I like it a lot, to be honest. I think it's a 5 out of 5 creative wise. But yeah, maybe not strictly the most competitive card, but still pretty useful. Next up, we have one of the most broken cards revealed in a long time, and that is Prime Catcher. I know I say that kind of frequently, and it's very easy to just slap broken in titles and thumbnails, but Prime Catcher, I think, warrants it. Warrants it quite a bit. Switching one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot if you do switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Very, 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 very powerful effect. Very busted. Very disgusting. So this card is basically a reprint of Guzma, which was a very, very powerful supporter card from the early Sun and Moon era, if you played back then. So that was a supporter, and it was really good. Admittedly, you could tutor out Guzma with something like a Tapu Lele, but at the same time, this is an item card. So you can play this on the same turn that, you know, you use Iono or Research or another supporter that you want to use, like Colorless Experiment, for example. So yeah, a very, very powerful card. I know it's a one-of item, but, you know, think of all those turns that you just happen to have a boss's orders and you use it because it's useful in that situation. Well, you can just do this plus Iono, plus, you know, Path to the Peak, plus Research, and all the rest of it. It's a very, very broken card. To be honest, I think this will make Lost Zone decks even better. You know, Escape Rope's already a great card in that deck, and it's essentially a Gust version of Escape Rope. So you can essentially do this after using a Flower Selecting or something, and then boss up a Manaphy with this, and then switch into one of your other Comfeys or a Cramorant, and then just KO that, and yeah. Very, very disgusting card in Lost Zone. It's also a buff for decks like Iron Valiant, of course, that just want to switch into active a lot. It's also a pretty good buff for Roaring Moon, springs to mind actually, because you can use Morpeko and Dark Patch to build up one on the bench and then just gust in after your opponent KOs Morpeko or something. So yeah, I definitely think this card is super busted and broken. I don't know how they're going to print another card that rivals this, really, but yeah, very, very busted. 5 out of 5 for me. But yeah, let me know what you think of these cards down below. Hopefully, see some more card reveals tomorrow. Hopefully, they're good cards as well. But yeah, this has been Emma Power. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you think these cards will be good? And yeah, thank you for watching.